It is approximately 3 o'clock, and at this point in time, we're going to open up our public safety meeting. On our agenda this afternoon, we have the police update, which will be presented to us by Deputy Chief Reifenberg. We will have an update on the police chief search process, and then we will have a regional training safety which will be a presentation from the Grand Rapids Community College by Dr. Canetto and Mrs. Julie Parks. So shall we come in that order?
Is it on now?
Yep.
There we go. Thank you, Commissioners, member of the Public Safety Committee. I've been asked to update you on the UAS program at the Grand Rapids Police Department and our community engagement efforts therein. We had this kind of set up for September, but we got delayed on the program. So this is what our plan is with the community engagement and feedback from the community on the UASs. The plan for us is to have a community engagement event in each of the wards. Hopefully we can still use the same facilities, which was the GOE Center over on the west side, Grand Rapids University up on Fuller, and then the Kroc Center down off of Division Avenue. And so we'd like to be able to spend an hour or two with the community explaining exactly how the program will be run. We are going to include drone as first responder in those programs. We don't have the personnel right now to run that program, but before we bring it to the surveillance policy, we wanted full disclosure on any way we may use the unmanned aerial systems. We also have a draft policy that people will review, and then we're going to be partnering either with the Grand Rapids Fire Department or the County Sheriff's Department so the technology can actually be at these locations so people can see the technology and then see it actually in action, see what the officers can see when the technology is being used. After these presentations, we want to give it a full month to be able to take feedback, and we'll do that the same way that we have in the past by receiving emails and phone calls from individuals. And we'll give out that phone number and email address at those engagement events. And then we'll bring the team back together, review all of those comments from the public, make any adjustments that we feel need to be made so that this program can be successful. Only after that will we bring it toward the commission and to this body first to get the approval of the surveillance policy. Once that's complete, we'll be doing either a budget amendment or we'll wait until next year because the drones, using a UAS or a drone in the wintertime, the battery on those doesn't last nearly as long. So a pilot program would probably be much more successful in the spring to see where we could usually go with this. So that's really what we're looking at is probably next spring to launch this. But we'd like to have our ducks in a row and be able to bring this to you guys back in December or January.
Commissioner, any questions?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Next is the update on the police chief search process. Mr. Doug Matthews.
How are you?
I'm
Doug
good,
Matthews, Assistant City Manager. Just wanted to be able to provide you all with an update on where we're at. A press release went out here recently on the search process. Last meeting, the City Commission approved a contract with public sector search consultants to be able to assist us in that search. As you all know, the chief announced his intent to retire. Fortunately, he has agreed to stay on for as long as necessary for us to get that next chief on board, whether that be an internal or an external candidate. Philosophically for us, it's always best to do a full-throated search to make sure that you've got a slate of candidates to choose from that are reflective of the input that we get in the initial stages of the process. So the plan right now is to use October to work with the search consultants' representatives to be able to develop that profile. That includes engagement with the community. That's the full community. So we have business representatives, we have private sector, public sector, nonprofit, community representatives, neighborhood representatives that we'll reach out to. Just ask the question, what are the things that you're interested in seeing in the leadership of the police department? And then they'll build out that profile for the purposes of going out and recruiting. I can say that this consultant in particular has a specialty in public safety, tends to have a roster of people that they're aware of that are in the market or maybe ready to move into that next leadership position. They'll go through that recruitment process. Probably January, February, we'll get that list of recommended candidates to review, bring those forward for the interview process. Just like we did last time, part of that interview process will be meetings with the public where they'll be able to answer questions of the public. And then hopefully in that March, April timeframe, we'll be able to make a decision, and their start date, as is typical with executive recruitments, will be predicated on what their availability is and the notice that they need to give, as well as if they were required to move, what that might look like. So that in a nutshell is what it is that we're looking at right now. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Commissioner Jones? Commissioner O'Connor? Thank you, sir. Appreciate hearing this.
Sure.
Got a question?
I'm wondering about your process of gathering information from people, and what you just said to me sounded like you're going to round up the usual suspects and get opinions from them. What about just the everyday person out there? How do we contact them?
There will be an open component to the process as well for anybody that wants to be able to provide feedback. We try to start with a list of known organizations. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't necessarily define it as the usual suspects, but there are organizations that are present in the community, whether they be business leadership, nonprofit leadership, whatever it might be. Mm-hmm. But it won't be strictly restricted to them. But we do know, particularly in public safety, that there are certain groups that we need to make sure are on the list. But it won't strictly be restricted to those groups.
Okay, good, thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Sure.
Grand Rapids Community College.
Hold on 1 second, Doctor. Let me. I can do it from here. Hold on.
Perfect. Oh, great. Thank you. Well, good afternoon, everybody. It is my pleasure to be here with you and to provide you with some information about a project that GRCC has been exploring for the last several months, the development of a comprehensive programs and a training center for public safety. My name is Brian Cannettle. I'm the Provost and Executive Vice President of Academic and Student Affairs at GRCC, and I'm joined this afternoon by Ms. Julie Parks, who is the Interim Dean at the School of Workforce Development. Today, we're going to provide a brief overview of GRCC's mission related to workforce development, tell you a bit about the vision for the public safety training work in which GRCC has been engaged, and some other opportunities associated with this project, and an overview of what we've already done and what still would need to be completed. Now, before moving on, I do want to share that while we've invested time and energy at this project, we are still in the very early stages of exploration and development. There are many more details to be worked out, but as we continue our work, gather our information from partners, and identify additional opportunities, we wanted to share our progress with you. While many of you are, I hope, familiar with the outstanding work of GRCC in the community, I just want to reiterate our commitment to the community and the work that we do. Our entire purpose is to provide opportunities that are responsive to community needs through educational and training programs, which ultimately benefit the broader community. And it is in the spirit of that community responsiveness that the public safety work began. GRCC has a long history of responding to community and workforce needs. And I'd like to ask Julie just to briefly share a little bit more about GRCC's programs in this regard.
Good afternoon. We have over 60 programs that GRCC has built with employers in this community in every sector that we serve people in West Michigan. And the key part is employers and individuals who are doing those jobs to make sure the skills are correct. Everything from a job training program to a continuing ed program to a certificate program to degree program, whether you're ready to go to work or ready to go and transfer and continue on with your education. And so we see this public safety training center as having all of those different things be able to happen under this one organization, this one building.
So now we move into the Public Safety Training Center and programs. As I mentioned, GRCC has been leading discussions to explore the development of comprehensive programs and a training center that will serve local needs, both to our closest municipalities and to West Michigan region. The work began when fire departments and police departments in Grand Rapids and Wyoming approached GRCC about training opportunities and talent development. They spoke to us in very general terms about impending retirements, challenges with attracting talent, and possible shortages in the coming years. They also expressed a desire to provide their training in updated facilities, since they shared some changes in access to current facilities and a desire to have more training options available through a comprehensive center. I do want to note that while we know that there is a need, GRCC is currently deep into a labor market analysis that will help us better understand the details of the current and future training public safety needs in our area. The vision for the center is to create a facility in collaboration with public safety professionals that will host training for multiple public safety professions in one central location. The facility would serve to offer GRCC programs, be the home training center for local municipalities, and a West Michigan destination for regional, state, and federal agencies. While we are gathering information from stakeholders to identify what needs to be included in a comprehensive center that will accommodate the needs for training, we are still gathering information from stakeholders to identify what needs to be included to accommodate current and future safety training. We are early in the process, but everything from a burn tower for firefighter training, high bay areas for trucks, firearm training ranges, a driving track, and traditional classroom spaces have all been expressed as needs or desires in a new facility. The center will actually be a support system for training curriculum and programs. GRCC will develop credit and non-credit programs as well as customized training to meet the public safety needs of our community. The list provided on the slide is just a sample of those types of programs that could be part of the public safety curriculum. And emergency drone training is just something I've added now, today. The fire department and police department and other agencies who partner with us on this project also plan to provide their own ongoing training of its current employees in this facility. Each department trains regularly to stay current, and the center could be the location for that training. Now, GRCC already offers programs in criminal justice, police and corrections academy work, but more programs can be developed as we learn more about the training needs. A priority of any program developed would be to provide multiple and clear pathways into and through public safety careers. We can start early to get students interested in public safety career paths and map out how they can work through each program to achieve their final goals. A student may complete an EMS training early on, and as they work in that role, they can continue to pursue further training as a paramedic, firefighter, or police officer. This is what in community colleges we refer to as stackable credentials, students earning employable certificates and degrees while pursuing other ultimate degree career goals. This is something that GRCC has gotten very good at, and it is a tremendous benefit to students. I'm going to ask Julie Parks to come back up one more time and share with some other emerging opportunities that have come up during these discussions.
So public safety would be the main point, the main task that would happen at that location. But there's also opportunities with some public works training that we already do with the city of Grand Rapids, line worker working at heights. There's some things going on in the autonomous vehicle area that could also be done at this site. We currently use the parking lot at GRCC for the bus training that goes on for the county. And there are a lot of other opportunities, we think, to really keep the center full and busy at all times.
As I mentioned when we started, we still have a lot of work ahead of us. We have made some good progress, so it's important to keep GRCC and the community updated and provide information on what's next. Last week, we brought together firefighters and police officers from Grand Rapids, Wyoming, and Kentwood for a design charrette. Now, a design charrette is just a fancy word for a collaborative, interactive input session to begin collaboration on what types of programs and facilities may be needed. We had great participation, and we'll be sifting through the input and follow up with that group with another session in a couple of weeks. We have hired a project manager. We've actually taken a current GRCC employee and made this his priority, and he will be focused on the project, manage the details, and help keep it moving forward. Having a project manager was important to keep everyone and everything coordinated. We do want to make sure we stay in communication with and provide updates to our partner cities and secure any approvals or support as necessary. Our institutional research department continues to work on an extensive labor analysis so we can identify current and future opportunities, job growth, in all the public safety areas. This information will inform final decisions and programs that are developed in the center. We certainly need to find the right location and that will provide enough space, but is acceptable to all of our key partners. Keeping the center centrally located to all three municipalities will be key. At this point, we know that location is important, but until we know more about what will go on at that center, it's premature to predict an exact location. We are pursuing multiple avenues of funding, most notably pursuing grant funding that will support our project. And the two pictures up here are from the Design Charrette meeting in Grand Rapids, Wyoming, that included Grand Rapids, Wyoming, and Kentwood. And if I had known Brad was going to be here, I would have made sure you were in one of the pictures. At this point, I'm happy to respond to any questions, but I thank you for permitting me and GRCC to provide you with this update. We look forward to collaborating and providing updates as we know more.
Thank you. Before I ask my colleagues to respond, I have one question for the two of you. Is there any collaboration with the public school systems or within Wyoming, Kentwood, and Grand Rapids in terms of high school students being able to get engaged in this program?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. We have relationships with the majority of those high schools, and we do some of the academy work. We don't have anything in public safety right now. I'm looking at Julie, who might correct me.
At the Kent ISD, we support their police cadet program.
So we would certainly, as we continue to do this work, we would, as I had mentioned earlier about the EMS and engaging them early, I think we would look that early engagement is at the high school level. How do we engage students at the high school level and bring them in and up through this program? So those current relationships that we would have, we would certainly maintain, and we would look to build others to, again, inspire more students in the public safety careers.
Commissioner O'Connor.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner. No, this sounds like an amazing opportunity. You know, we've had continued dialogue about the need to have additional folks enter the fields of public safety, be that police or fire or EMS, and so having a training facility in our own backyard that could, not only provide us people to do it, but high quality. We want the best candidates in all of our departments, and so having a resource like this in our own backyard would be, I think, a welcome addition to our Metro Grand Rapids community here. So. Look forward to continuing to partner with you guys and figure out how to make this thing a reality.
Great, thank you.
Commissioner Jones.
Thank you, and thank the both of you for your presence here on this afternoon. I am elated that you've come before us and have presented this as a potential opportunity. I've stated before publicly, and this does not take anything away from our colleagues at GVSU, but there's something to be said about perhaps being able to develop a pool of talent that includes students from GRCC simply because of the demographic that exists and the efforts and the desire for our department to diversify its workforce. And so I'm excited about the potential, not just obviously for GRPD, but also for GRFD and the potential to grow in that area as well. So I would look forward to this. I'm hoping that it can come together sooner rather than later, and I think that you have something that I think could have significant success in our area. So thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Carroll.
Very happy about this as well. I'm very happy about this as well, and mostly because it reflects on the fact that these are professions, and education and certification, all these kind of things really make a difference. And I'm really happy that you've included all the public works and all that other stuff, because I've been complaining to this board a while that we got to take a much broader view, particularly in situations of homeland security issues and things like that. So a thumbs up, go for it.
Thank you.
Plus being an alumni of Grand Rapids Community College, which was Grand Rapids Junior College back in the day, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
If there are none other questions that need to be done at this point in time, this meeting will be adjourned at 3:20.
Fastest one I've ever been to. I can talk for another 10 minutes.